Okay, here we go with part two of our review and critique and demo and whatever on the motion assignment. Let's leap right into it. Okay, well, here we have Old Glory at the top of the flagpole, fluttering in the breeze. This was meant to freeze the motion, and it certainly did. The flag isn't moving at all, or seems to be frozen. The shot is just a little bit overexposed. So if we followed the approach that I gave you early on, we can see here that there's a little space on the white side. Here we have a spike in the black, but it's this. I don't know what that is. At first I thought it was a building, but it's now, I think it's just a border left over. So let's pull this back in where it belongs. Probably to there. And that gives us a little more detail in things. We'll bring the mid-range down just a touch. And now we have a much better version than this original one. So the only thing I would do with this is get rid of the border that doesn't belong and the piece of schmutz that's on your sensor that doesn't belong. And it would be nice if this weren't squeezed quite so tightly up on the side. So let me show you another cute little trick that Photoshop has up its sleeve. I'm going to go to Image Canvas Size. Now you all have used image size to change the whole image. Canvas refers to the area that the image can occupy. So I'm going to say canvas size. I want it to extend off to that side, off to the screen right side. So I'm going to start it from here. I'm going to make it relative to what's there, which means it's going to only add to what's there. I'm going to give it 0.5. And now we've got just a little bit more space. This will be enough to demonstrate what I'm talking about. So the first thing I'm going to do is come in here and grab this last little blue area. Okay. And now I'm going to go to Edit, Content Aware Scale. Now I'm doing this with a plain blue, but you could do it with detail, almost anything you can do this with. I'll click on that. It gives me these little handles. Pull that out, say OK, deselect, and now I've got a little more space. I could have made that considerably wider if I had wanted to. So there is a way that you can get in and extend areas quickly and easily if you truly need to. Photoshop's really an incredible tool. So let's go on. Wow. Here we have someone either jumping for joy or jumping to catch something. It looks like this is a baseball mitt, so I assume maybe somebody has just tossed something to her, although this is a somewhat strange jump with both feet in the air. But it's perfect. It's labeled as the blur, and in fact it has caught a little bit of the blur. We're sure that she's off the ground, since most of us, at least, aren't quite capable of levitating. So that works well. You definitely got the blur. But the story is her, not these bushes and not this house and not any of this other stuff. Shooting this vertically would have made a lot of sense. I mean, we've been through this on shot after shot, have we not? Looks like antifreeze in the gutter. So, except for that stupid sign in the background, this is a much better shot of our subject. Really, guys, move in on your stuff. Overall, over and over and over, the main problem with a lot of your shots isn't the capture. It isn't the use of the technique we're covering. It's composition. It's filling as much of the frame as possible with the real subject of your shot. It's a simple issue, but it's deadly to high-quality photos when it isn't followed. And this one is similar. It's a cute little shot of this guy giving a Boy Scout salute with the wrong hand in a fountain. That's a fascinating concept. Maybe he's just shown how, as a Boy Scout, he knows how to fabricate water. Who knows? But again, this isn't a horizontal shot. You guys know that. It's that kind of shot. It's either square or vertical. Here is our primary subject, his face, this smiley little face, and the water on everything cooling down. It's a fun shot. But it is not about all of this or this. So move in on the important stuff. Well, this is for the blur part of the assignment. It's an interesting shot, to be sure. The car is blurred. The bicycle is just blurred. Is there a story here that the car is about to run over the bicycle? Or is it just blurred because it's blurred? And you said to give you a blurred one. So here it is. Okay, fine. The rest of the shot actually is kind of interesting with this lattice work of trolley wires, the really complex bit of track that's down here for the trolley to come and go in all different directions. That could be really fascinating. And with the needle behind, wow, this could be really cool. But yes, you did get the blur. Okay, fine. Well, now we have something really fascinating. You all are probably much too young to remember for years there was a diamond company called De Beers, and they did these really fascinating ads where there was a model purely in silhouette or in shadow, actually on the wall, who would be wearing some diamond item, whether it was a bracelet or a necklace or earrings or whatever. There were very clever composites back before most people knew how to do composites, and back when they had to be done with airbrushes and paste up jobs. But they were beautifully done and very eye-catching. This is very clever. This is a very nice concept. I would get rid of some of the top of this. We really don't need that. Our story is the shadow hand trying to catch the tennis ball. I think that's very, very clever. Good job. Good job. Well, and here we have a freeze shot that is most certainly a freeze. Unless this guy is hanging from a crane, he has got to be in the air. It's kind of an unusual angle. You don't normally see a butt shot for these, but hey, what the heck? You shoot him where you got him, you know. It reminds me there was a Western where one of the people who turned out to be one of the good guys in it had just shot one of the bad guys in the back. And when this dude came up all full of the code of the West and all of that and said, "I can't believe you shot him in the back," the guy replied, "His back was to me." Well, that's kind of what happened here. This guy's backside is to you, so you shot it. It froze it. Interesting shot. definitely have a somewhat crooked horizon, but we're really going to be paying attention to him. In this case, I would normally see this as a vertical shot, but you've got all these spectators here, and they're all paying attention to him. So I have to assume that either this is some kind of exhibition, or they are really expecting this guy to crash and burn at any moment. And you know how crowds are around that on the highway. Need a weekly shot of blood and gore. So possibly that's what's happening. Anyway, it's a nice shot. It's very well captured. I think what I would do is move a little bit off of this side so we get more of a sense of this motion. And that would be very easy to do. We already have the fact of the crowd established, so this would help give us just a little more motion to it. Cool. Another good shot. Well, bless my soul, another skateboarder. And this guy is also blurred out. I'm assuming this must be a skate park of some kind with all the ramps and stuff built into it. We really need a little more light on him. He's a touch in shadow on this picture. And we don't need all of this. Again, the shot's about him. Here's where your shot is, him in the air. So we still know from this that this is a ramp. Most of us, even those of us like me that's never been on a skateboard, can figure that out. We could bring this in just to show that there are other ramps in the area and that this must be a park. We could bring all of that incredibly bright sky down. And now we have the same shot, but one in which it's a lot easier to really tell what the main subject is and kind of get into the action of it. Well, this is listed as a motion freeze. I'm assuming, but I have to assume because your picture doesn't tell me that given the angle on this car, that it's one of those equipped with the ever so cute hydraulic jumping suspension systems. And I'm assuming also that this is now starting to elevate the front. But what you need to sell the story is the front wheels off the ground. Otherwise, he could be starting to do a wheelie, although we'd expect a little smoke from the rear tires. But it's not clear. Does it just have a bad reverse rake on the suspension? Did the rear springs just collapse and he's just sitting at this weird angle? Or what's going on here? We've also got no one really looking at him. They've probably seen this one too many times. It was pretty exciting the first several thousand shots, but so it's also not really concentrating on this. Look at all of the real estate the sky has. Here's your action. Here's where the shot is. So let's get rid of all this other stuff. Let's come down into here. Now we're into where the actual shot is located. The sky isn't anywhere near as obtrusive as it was in the first place. Now we can actually start concentrating on these other folks and this car to see what's going on with it. Okay? Again, the shot's nicely exposed. The shutter speed is caught perfectly. I assume that the car is actually jumping, but now we can get into it a little better. Well, either somebody has spray painted the ceiling around this fan, or this is a fan in motion. It's listed as a blur. Well, okay, it is blurred. I'll give you that. And it's blurred quite a bit. So technically speaking, this worked out pretty well. It is an interesting graphic composition of sorts with the fan blades caught as you have, and the yellow fan housing around it. but it's a relatively mundane snapshot. Now, if you were doing a series, a book on artistic views of mundane household things, this shot actually might have a good place in that. As a standalone shot, I don't know. But it is an example of motion blur. You did get that. Well, this is an interesting shot. This is the motion freeze, although we do have the wings in motion. But it is kind of frozen. Either the bird is hopping down off of the bird feeder, or it's levitating over the hot rocks, or has been launched into the air by something. So it's a good catch. It did catch a freeze. I'm assuming the angle here is because this is rocking from Newton's law of motion as the bird launched off of it. But here's your shot. Here's where the action is happening. There isn't much going on up in here unless we're anticipating the gophers to come up and have some action going on there. So I would come in a little bit here. And make that my shot that tells us everything we need to know. Okay, that'll do it for part 2. We'll be back momentarily with part 3 of the motion review, critique, whatever. See you in a bit.